Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're heading back to Middle-earth. We have the War of the Rohirrim Designer's Notes. So this is an article on WarCom, it's linked in the description below. It's taking a look at the new narrative. They're calling them journals. They're basically Journal Tactica, or what I think the arcane journals are for the old world, but for Middle-earth. Makes sense, it's had a new edition. The Specialist Games team runs all three of those, Old World, Heresy and Middle-earth strategy battle game, or Lord of the Rings as I quite often call it, because that's what it is to me. That's where it started, and in my nostalgia-fueled brain, it's always going to be Lord of the Rings. But this weekend we have whatever this journal is, and hopefully this is a good step forward for Middle-earth, because it needs something to really... I mean, War of the Rohirrim isn't the place to start for that, I don't think. But as I said when this was announced, it feels like this journal is a get it out the way, get our agreed to license enforced content out the way, then we can move on to the true Tolkien stuff. Not that War of the Rohirrim isn't Tolkien. A lot of the characters, a lot of the events is all done by Tolkien in the appendices of Middle-earth, of Lord of the Rings. I'm getting everything mixed up now. I need more coffee. But this film wasn't great. This was the film that was supposed to put Middle-earth back into people's, forefront of people's minds, right? Alright, it was animated and they were trying something different, but this was supposed to be Warner Brothers saying, hey, we still have this license. We're going to make great things with it. And it didn't turn out to be that. So hopefully this is still a good quality journal, and we're going to run through this article to hopefully give us some ideas of what it is. I'm hoping for great things, but I'm also aware of how hamstrung they are by the quality of the film, characters in the film, and this isn't going to be a great starting point for everyone, but hopefully there's enough positive here to give us an idea. I will be pre-ordering this journal as long as I can get there before stock runs out. If it is going to run out, we don't know. So we will be taking a look at this on the channel, fingers crossed, but I'm a big fan of this stuff, and if getting this out of the way now means that the next one is The Hobbit, or maybe Frodo's journey, the start of Frodo's journey from Shire to Bree or whatever, and we're taking some of the more well-known and much-loved Tolkien elements and adventures and characters, and they're going to get books that focus on... I mean, how great would it be to have a series of 7 or 8 books that is Frodo's journey, and it's what's going on in that area as he's passing through, how the corruption of the ring, and just generally the rise of evil in those areas is affecting it, and bringing in characters that we know. Wouldn't that be really cool? I don't know if that's going to happen, but how about I stop rambling, we get through this, I'm going to run through this article, and we see where we are. But hopefully you can see that I am a big fan of this stuff, and that I am excited and really looking forward to seeing where Middle-earth goes in the future. That's what I want to get across to you guys, because we haven't covered Middle-earth for a while. But this is the War of the Rohirrim Designer's Notes on the new Middle-earth Journal. We recently announced the War of the Rohirrim is the first journal for this edition of Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game. We caught up with writers Jay and Danny to discuss what Middle-earth fans can expect to find within its pages. Before we get into this, look at that picture, right? You've got this side here. Let's just cut down there, just for a minute. Resin model, okay, but the pictures that I've seen, and having seen it in person, it looks better than it actually looked in the washed out photos when it was released. All of these models here are all brand new plastic sculpts. Freylaf there is a brand new plastic sculpt. And then we have 5 of the old Riders of Rohan. The 20-something, that box of those models is old enough to drink. Well, in America, it's been old enough to drink in the UK for a long time. It's probably been propping up Bugmans. I suppose it's in the faces more than anything else, and maybe the poses on the horses, although I don't think they're terrible. But if there was ever a picture in my mind that said, this Riders of Rohan kit needs an upgrade, it's this picture. Anyway, let's hear from Jay and Danny. So, Jay, the War of the Rohirrim is an epic tale of overcoming the odds. I suppose they have to big it up, don't they? With the people of Rohan thrown into hardship and war by the devious actions of Wulf and the Dunlendings. In a bid to avenge his father, Wulf vows to slaughter Helm Hammerhand and his entire bloodline, culminating in the Rohirrim being forced to flee to the Hornburg, where they are put under siege during the desperate long winter. It is here, when things look bleak and hopeless, that Hera, Helm's daughter, becomes a true hero, dueling with Wulf for the fate of Rohan and its people. If you're going by the film, that's not how it is in the appendices. In fact, the appendices are very vague, is what it is. The Middle-earth Journal follows this story, allowing you to play through the scenes from The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, with your collection of miniatures. There are 11 narrative scenarios capturing the most iconic moments from the film. I didn't know there was 11 iconic moments. I'd struggle to name 4. A personal favourite of mine is The Last Stand of Helm Hammerhand. This scenario has Helm try to get Hera back into the safety of the Hornburg, all while combating the fierce blizzards and being hunted down by hill tribesmen, culminating in his defiant last stand on the causeway of what would soon be known as Helm's Deep. It's an epic final moment for such an awesome character, and a scenario well fitting of his heroism. So, the standout for me, I like Helm's sons, but I love Helm Hammerhand. As a character, I've always liked him, but Helm is like, you don't want to mess with him at the end. He's brutal. And that sounds like if they're bringing in weather effects and things, it's obviously going to be on a dice roll. But if you are fighting these fierce blizzards of the long winter, as well as taking on enemies and positioning yourself around the board, I'm all for that. That sounds great. So this is from Danny. I love the "a new threat on Rohan's borders" scenario. It's such a unique gameplay experience for players, and a rabid Mumek, as you can see in the picture there, consistently trying to crush the heroes underfoot, even as Hera tries to lead it away from her ally, though by doing so will put herself in danger. It poses a real conundrum about what players should prioritise trying to protect, and it can easily lead to disaster should things go awry. That actually sounds fun. Yeah, that might be fun. Although you'd have to kit bash a rabid Mumek, and that's not cheap. There is also a linked campaign system allowing players to play through each of the scenarios in turn, where the result of one scenario will impact the other. Great, that's what they should be doing with this stuff. This really adds to the fun of playing through the campaign, as it's not just about winning the current scenario, but also about how you're going to be affected in the future should you win or lose. That's the kind of thing that I love about this stuff. If they can actually weave these scenarios together and have each result matter, I'm all for it. So this is Jay. Alongside the narrative scenarios, there are a number of painting guides to show you how to paint warriors of Rohan and hill tribesmen with easy to follow steps. Return of painting guides is always nice. I know they've sort of been in definitely the codexes, definitely the battle tomes, and they're good, but they're not quite as good as they used to be, so I'm interested to see what that's like. We also cover different colour schemes and heraldry from the various lords and provinces of Rohan. Personally, I'm looking forward to painting up some warriors of Harrowdale to accompany Freylaf, while I know Danny has already painted some Rohirrim traitors, sworn to Lord Thorn of the Wold. The traitor colour scheme is pretty slick though. Danny, there is also a wealth of hobby guides showing you how to create your own terrain and more. Yes, this is the thing that we need. The Heresy Journal Tactica, the first one that we covered, that had a little bit of objective markers, wasn't it? Creating objective markers, which was nice to see. Can we get back to terrain, crafting our own terrain, making our own terrain and guides like that as well? This book sounds great. Step-by-step guides for damaged Rohan horses and the rabid Mumek will help you create your very own, though for me, I'm very fond of the guides to create hill tribes encampments. Excellent. I can't wait to get cracking on making a few and playing some fights around the tents and campfires outside the walls of a besieged Hornburg. The War of the Rohirrim is a, let's say it together, 48-page softback journal, as they always are. Supplement for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. It'll arrive for pre-order alongside some more characters from the film in short order. It's going up for pre-order tomorrow alongside Helm Hammerhand mounted and on foot, and a dual box or a trio box of Freylaf mounted and on foot, Olwyn mounted and on foot, and Leif, Page of Helm, again mounted and on foot. So there's a box of 6 models. No idea why it's a box of 6 models, but I guess they have to sell them somehow. We don't actually see Leif in that, but you've got Olwyn there and Freylaf. We have covered them on the channel. There is a Middle-earth strategy battle game playlist if you want to check out the reveals and things and my initial thoughts. So, what do I think about this? I think that this is actually pretty good, despite the source material not being some of the most iconic Tolkien stories of all time. They have to start somewhere. The new edition is very much centered on the War of the Rohirrim, with amazing new Rohan warriors and amazing new hill tribe sculpts. And Wolf, General Targ, and Helm's sons, and I've forgotten their names, but stunning models. If you want to get into Middle-earth strategy battle games, that new box, especially if you're hill tribes or Rohan, incredible. Absolutely incredible. This journal as a step forward and a continuation now that we have all of the army books. And we're coming up to 12 months since the new starter box launched. This journal sounds very good. It's not just the 11 scenarios, it's also a narrative campaign that links in, and all of that stuff is great. I think that this stuff should be in these books, especially when you have such, I'm going to say, beloved tales and characters. Might not necessarily apply to everyone for this one, but once we've got War of the Rohirrim out of the way, there is just a wealth of incredible Tolkien stories and characters to look at, even if we stay with the familiar stuff that they've been doing for the last 20 years. Fellowship. Two Towers. I mean, can you imagine a book just dedicated on the siege at Helm's Deep with the Uruk-hai and Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Theoden holding their different sections of Helm's Deep? I guess that you would also bring in Haldir and things like that, because this stuff is probably going to follow the films where there is a film to follow. Although they do deviate into the books more as well sometimes. But can you just imagine, like, Middle-earth Tactica Journal, whatever we're calling this, number 12. It is the Battle of Helm's Deep, and it is a 48-page book dedicated to building Helm's Deep. You've got a 6 or 7 scenario campaign of intricate fighting from the start of the siege, or even the ride to Helm's Deep, bring in the wargs, and then 5 scenarios that are just interlinked, and each element impacts the next scenario as you culminate into the final grand charge of Theoden down the Hornburg. Wouldn't that be amazing if they really put their minds to it? And this sounds very good, what they're doing here. We need to see it, obviously. I'm just going by a WarCom preview, which is usually a puff piece more than anything else. But if they can get it right, that would be amazing. What if you took the Fellowship's adventure, you enter Moria after being attacked by the Watcher, you go through Moria, and then the final scenario is running to Lothlorien with the orcs after you. And then the next book picks up with the defense of Lothlorien, which you don't see in the films, but it is hinted at in the book. So you would have Haldir and Wood Elves, while the Fellowship aren't part of it. And then that next couple of scenarios, and depending on what happens there, depends on something to do with the Fellowship, or maybe aid that they get or something. But as you push on, you know, you're then going down into the Ammon Hen side of things. You've got the Uruk-hai chasing them. There's so much that you could do with these linked campaigns. I think that's what I'm most excited about, the narrative side and the play. Obviously, narrative stuff, and especially with Lord of the Rings with such beloved characters, you're probably going to want to play them with the characters that are there, but you can switch these out. You can switch out a hero of legend for a different hero of legend if you wanted to do a different take or something different, or maybe a custom Fellowship. Maybe you could have a book on a custom Fellowship. It has been done before, I know, but this is everything that I want in a book like this for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. Hopefully this is a one and done for the War of the Rohirrim. I don't have strong feelings about the film, to be honest. There's some good bits, there's some bad bits. Generally, I just thought it was low quality, but the idea of playing it out on the tabletop is much more appealing to me than watching the film again. So I think that this is great. I'm excited for this. And as I say, if I'm able to, we will be picking it up. I'm going to try and get down the store just before it opens, so there shouldn't be any issues, but touch wood, you never know. They might make more copies of this and then that's it. But I am genuinely looking forward to this one to see what these journals are going to be, but also the future journals that we may get down the line. And I'm really looking forward to actually getting stuck in with Middle-earth. I've taken a back seat on Middle-earth a little bit. The Armies of book, Armies of Middle-earth, didn't really excite me with the army that I was building, and it sort of stopped me doing what I was doing. But that said, that's really a pathetic excuse on my part. And also, Space Wolves came out around the same time, and I've been so focused on Space Wolves and doing that side of things and 40k. But this is a game that I really do want to cover, and I want to just talk about and constantly do and get into. It's a little bit harder with Middle-earth strategy battle game because a lot of the miniatures are so much older, and for the price that they are, I would struggle to justify paying that. Because a lot of them you have to get through Games Workshop. Not all of them, but a lot of them you have to get through Games Workshop, and they are just ridiculous prices for what are 20-something-year-old models, for what I'd be looking at mostly. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that we're actually going to get something before the end of this year focusing on Middle-earth strategy battle game, and they're actually going to give us not a roadmap. I don't need to know what journals are coming or anything like that, but I want to know which units are going to be looking at getting refreshed, how they're going to deliver it, and what we can expect. Because if we've got brand new Warriors of Rohan, brand new Hill Tribesmen, I believe the first time in plastic with this box, are they going to refresh the rest of the Rohan stuff? And you only need to do the troops, and then you move into Minas Tirith and all of this stuff. These are the big questions. So while I enjoy the game and I don't mind the new rule set, in all honesty, but while you have all of this stuff, there are still some fundamental questions that I think need answering about the Middle-earth range. I will tag my video going through the entire range. I critique the entire range. It's very personal. You will disagree with some of what I say. But hopefully this is a good step forward. But I also want to know what they're doing with the product range. And I don't necessarily need a load of new models right now, new characters, although that would be nice. It's more about refreshing these models, the really old ones. That's what I want to see. And if they use these journals as a way of doing that, then I guess that's okay, because it gives us an idea of what's coming and where you want to focus. I don't think these journals will be for everyone, but for me personally, I'm excited. And I would love to know what you think. If you're currently playing Middle-earth strategy battle game, how are you finding the new edition now everything's settled down? We've had a couple of updates, but not really too many. But we do have what we believe is all 3 books, and pretty much all of the profiles that we're going to be getting, with a legend sheet as well. Let me know how you're finding the game. If you enjoyed this weird ramble, I don't even know what this video is anymore. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I do plan on doing more Middle-earth strategy battle game, as hopefully I'm going to get some time to actually set some stuff up. I really need to sort terrain out for Middle-earth. I haven't got any Middle-earth terrain or any just generic fantasy terrain that I can use. So I need to look into that, but I am wanting to cover this more, maybe get some small scale, like skirmish, proper skirmish battle reports and things going with this game set. Because I love this game, and I love this, just this world. Tolkien created something beautiful with this. And Games Workshop, on the whole, have done pretty well bringing it to life over the last 25 years. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.